Hi, my name is Michael G, and today we're going to be dealing with what you might hear me say as the pre-genital stage trauma, or where the psychopath is formed. Modern psychology does not really understand what the psychopath is. And what we're going to do today is we're going to give you a couple of things that might help you if you're dealing with psychopaths on how things work with them. The psychopath is exactly what it is. It is the path of the mind, the path of the psyche that is blocked from their body. Because of this block, it must feed on somebody else. And that's why when you deal with a psychopath, you'll always have the secondary feeding for the psychopath, which would be the enabler. The psychopath is the distorted, disconnected head with no body, and the enabler is the body seeking a head and not its own. So this very dangerous relationship is the out-of-body relationship. This relationship causes much grief, and it's detrimental to the children of this relationship, because their identity is skewed, their sexuality is skewed, and depending on how the trauma unfolds in the child's life, they'll grow up to either end up being a psychopath or the enabler, unless there's some intervention. And most likely an intervention of God, because it seems like we're getting worse and worse with this. So, how do you deal with this individual? Well, if you ever go to counseling, they ask questions. So the first thing they would ask you is all kinds of questions. And that is the worst thing to do when you're dealing with this person. Because every time you ask them a question, they are not going to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you a lie. So when they tell you a lie, you're actually taking the person and you're creating the division, a greater division from their own body. And while you create this division and you believe the lie, it's actually strengthening the enabler. Because if you're asking them the question, they're answering you, you're forcing them to disconnect. So questions will always bring forth lies and will start this relationship. So if you're dealing with this person on a regular basis, maybe, family member, you can't be asking them questions. Because no matter what question you're asking them, they will lie. Even if they're telling you something that might be truthful, because of the distortion between themselves, it is in their best interest to always lie. Because they want to get away from the truth, which is in the spirit, in the body. So they create a false reality. And then there are the people that multiply that false reality. These people will not exist when these people are around. If you want to get this person out of their head, you got to break these bands. And it's really that simple. Nobody's a monster in our society that can do destruction without the monster here. The monster here is what gives life. But this person is usually invisible. We don't usually find the enabler, because the enabler doesn't have a head. And since the enabler doesn't have a head, it is in the best interest for the enabler unconsciously not to be visible. And that's why when you see the horrors done by people in the world, you will always see the enabler. And this goes for relationships as well. When there's a woman that she's been into 3-4 relationships, and every one of those relationships had abuse, let me tell you something. She is a magnet for this guy. She is 50% or greater the problem, because this guy's stuck in a sense, because he's already disconnected. He's trying to get away from here to stop pain, whereas the enabler is more calculating. The enabler usually wants to control the head, and that's the kind of relationship that they do. So number one, you don't ask questions, and number two, you really can't believe anything that they say, because the enabler will have lie upon a lie upon a lie upon a lie. And the Bible touches on this very accurately, because the seat of the psychopathy or the pre-genital stage is actually evil. It is to disconnect from the body, and in this evil, God very, very well said it to them in John 8:44. Ye are of a father, the devil, and the desires of your father he will do. He was a manslayer from the beginning, and in the truth he hath not stood, because there is no truth in him. And when one may speak the falsehood of his own, he speaketh, because he is a liar, also his father. So you see, everything that they speak is lies. Always lies, lies, lies. And you have to kind of like really understand that in dealing with these people. And we can even see this today in 2017 with people in power. This election, 2016 election, you get to see people or certain individuals lie upon lie. They change their stories, and it's really funny, because when you consider the Republican Party really did represent this guy, and the Democratic Party really represented this person. And if you look at how their lies came out and how they would deal with these things, these persons' lies were exposed right off the front board, and they would lie left and right, and they wouldn't care. They'd say one thing today, change the story. Oh, I didn't say this, I didn't mean this. Whereas this person's lies are hidden. And this is playing out before us, because this is a time when God's actually magnifying the problems in the world. And one of the reasons all these problems get magnified is we're focusing more energy on our heads. And what's happening is, with the computers, we are actually separating ourselves even more. Because when you're operating a computer, you're in the motionless point. You are not moving. And the computer is, let's say, becomes part of your identity. And that's why you notice these social media, computer, Facebook, and all these other things, that they have this gigantic following, and people have to check their tweets or their Facebook 100 times during the day, because they're creating an out-of-body relationship. Another thing that when you're dealing with psychopathy, a very important thing to do is, if you're dealing with these people, you have to bring them out of their heads. So if you could stop computers, and another thing is, you have to magnify their using of their hands in creativity. The more you use your hands, the head is pulled back down. And these are, they sound really simple, but you will see in some of my other videos about drawings. Drawings will always bring the head back down. Creative, make things with your hands. I don't care what you make. You can make things out of wood, make things out of paper, draw things. But the more that we focus on that, it will bring us more into our bodies. God help our children today. Because if you look at the men and the women today, or the children, the boys and the girls, they're kind of looking very similar. And with this genderification thing, gender neutral, it's because they're not developing any movement of their bodies. So they can't become the male or become the female. They're all sitting in front of the computer playing video games. You have children that they're losing their eyesight. They have glasses at 10 years old. And you would never think so many kids would have glasses. All these things that are happening with computers are actually magnifying this problem. It's magnifying this problem. Get out of the TV room, get out of the computer, go outside, walk around, spend time doing things that do not involve sitting in a stationary position all day. Because the more that you're staying in a stationary position, the more you're disconnecting. You're losing your head, per se. And as you lose your head, I'm going to make another video on this, you're becoming the AI. You're becoming the artificial intelligence. We are becoming the Matrix. In the movie The Matrix, they were talking about the machine world and how the machine world took over the humans, and the humans are their battery. But if you really think about that, we are purposefully spending all our time in front of computers, our pleasure through computers, our social network through computers. We are actually becoming that AI. We are coming into the Matrix. And if you notice, a lot of the actors in the Matrix, the lines between masculine and feminine were kind of blurred a bit. And their bodies. And you could see this very clearly as the homegrown humans, they had more body, like Tank, and they even had strong names, whereas the other people had names like Mouse, or Trinity, a name that's an idea, or Neo, or you could see their bodies were even different, and that was done intentionally in the movie. However, I don't know if they understand that today we are definitely becoming the AI. Now, I went off a little bit on this, but all this has to do with how psychopathy magnifies itself. If you want to have an inflated head disconnected from your body, or dealing with someone with an inflated head and disconnected from the body, if you just listen to what they say and believe it, you're going to magnify it. If you just let them sit in front of that computer, you're going to magnify it. You have to get them away from the head, because remember, in the head, they're going to have lies, control, fear, and they will think that they are the I am. Now, I've drawn this many years ago, and I've been using it for a lot of my videos. And as the time passes, everything that I've written on this is just as accurate as it was written today. So I hope this helped you a bit with dealing with psychopathy and dealing with people with psychopathy. But you got to remember, don't ask them questions, because every question that you're giving them is going to be an opportunity for them to lie, an opportunity for them to disconnect. It's and you got to always be on top of them, and you got to always bring them into doing some sort of creativity. And that's why, if you've seen some of my older videos, you'll see I always focus creativity that was not accepted by opposite sex parent, and the genitals becomes a weapon. So there's plenty here, and I'll add more videos on psychopathy, and I'll change it in a little bit so that this way you can have different directions and views of seeing this, because they're very tricky, these people. They will find a way to talk their way out of most situations, and if we let them double talk their way out, we let them off the hook. And an example of that, I have to say, has to be our new president, and in the United States here, and how he's textbook He's totally textbook, disconnected. It's very easy to see. Every aspect of his life fulfills this. The grandiosity, everything. And I hope this was some help, and may God richly bless you.